What is up, everybody? Steve here. I hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to talk about something I've spoken about multiple times in the past, and it's people tapping into their home equity. They are utilizing their homes as ATM machines, and a lot of people have no clue what they're doing because all they are doing is putting themselves into worse and worse situations. So please pass this video along to others who may be in a situation where they're contemplating on doing this. Now, there are people who are savvy enough to utilize equity of a property, sometimes an investment property, utilize that money to go ahead and invest in other assets. And even that can be risky, but if you know what you're doing, that's fine. But the problem is, and what we're seeing from the data, is people are going and they're tapping into that equity because they do not have any other choices. They are strapped for money. Their housing expenses is over 50% of their take-home pay, and they are troubled and they're in bad situations right now because the cost of everything has exploded. So if you guys know anybody, please pass this video along that are contemplating on doing this. Now, the flip side is if somebody's in this situation, they should be taking a strong look at possibly selling their home if they're in a position where they're having difficulty paying on their mortgage. And unfortunately, there are going to be more and more people in this position who are actually going to start defaulting on their mortgages because their inability to pay. Not to mention, if they're taking on a HELOC, those are adjustable rate mortgages in most cases. And right now, they might take a big chunk of that money out to basically have for their to subsidize their cost of living. And unfortunately, those rates are going to increase over time as well. So they're not only going to have their first lien, their mortgage, their primary mortgage of whatever it is, they're going to have a second lien on that property. So they're going to be paying two mortgages on their property, putting them further into a hole. So I think that the people who are in trouble right now should contemplate on selling the properties if they're in this situation. Let's take a look at the data real quick. This comes from Housing Wire and goes on to say HELOCs are now raging back. Nearly 2/3 of borrowers with at least some home equity have mortgage rates below 4% and would not benefit from refinancing. That's a given. That's the reason why HELOCs are taking wave right now. And we're going to talk about some of these banks and the reason why they're doing it as well. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York second quarter 2022 household debt and credit report shows that the limits on HELOCs jumped $18 billion in the second quarter of this year, the first substantial increase HELOCs limits since 2011. HELOC balances stood at $319 billion for the second quarter. Balances on home equity lines of credit increased by $2 billion in quarter two of this year. The number of HELOC originations nationwide jumped from 207,000 for second quarter 2021 to 291,000 for second quarter of this year. That's a 41% increase. Mortgage lenders are now considering adding home equity lending to their portfolios as they look for growth in a declining refinance market and seek opportunities to cross-sell to their existing customer base by tapping into historic amounts of home equity. Right now, trust me guys, if you guys have a mortgage, odds are, and you have equity, your lenders or other lenders are sending you guys mail. They're saying take advantage of the equity in your property, and you can do all these things with the additional equity that you have there, like put a pool or renovate your home or buy a car or whatever the case is. They're doing this because there's really not that many new loan originations because the cost of debt, the cost of a 30-year, 15-year mortgage has risen significantly. And so refinances are not taking place. There's not as many new home purchases taking place. So banks and lenders, they need to lend to stay in business. And obviously we're seeing mass layoffs in this industry. So they're doing anything and everything that they can to lend more money. And unfortunately, they don't care if it puts people in a bad situation. So please, if you guys are in this situation, you're contemplating on taking a HELOC because you guys are up against the wall, then second guess it and maybe even consider selling your home, downsizing, moving in with a friend, family member, or even house hacking your house if you can rent out a portion of your house, or do whatever you can to stay away from this, because this is what I have helped in the last real estate crash many people get out of, and it was short sales. And unfortunately, a lot of people had not only their first lien that we had to short sale, but they had a second lien, and many of them were HELOC loans that we had to short sale as well. So don't put yourself in this situation. If you know anybody in this situation, please pass along this video, and I appreciate you guys being here today. Thanks a lot.